So this is what we are going to talk today. We'll talk about the phases of the product development. We'll try to understand the problem from the customer lenses. We'll also see when is the right time to think of the solution. And once we have the solution, what are the legal compliances and how the final product will look like. And I'm also going to share you my experience with one of the recent story that we had. So I hope this will be helpful presentation to you. So probably as you are aware, on a high level, there are four different phases. These are on a very top level when building any product. So first is like a discovery of the product, and basically getting the requirements and trying to identify the right problem. Then you get into the design, prototypes. The third phase is like developing and testing the product, and the final one would be approval. At times, development, testing, and approvals go parallel. After this, there are release processes, some maintenance schedules and everything, but we'll skip that for this moment. The first part, the discovery, I think it's very, very critical to the product development. And I feel this is one of the most ignored topic in corporate as well as academic, because if you get this right early in the development, it's likely that you will be more successful in the product that you are planning to build. So if you go wrong here, you will develop a product that nobody wants. So it is very, very critical to understand what a problem that you are trying to solve and who this product will help to. So I'll start with a quote from an Albert Einstein. He said that he had an hour to solve a problem. He would spend maybe 55 minutes thinking about the problem, but he'll only spend 5 minutes thinking about the solution. So it's that critical to understand the problem statement before you jump onto the solution. So you need to be very, very sure that you are solving the problem that people have, and not something just because you have a technology in place. So basically what it is like, do not start with the solution. Never think of a solution first and then try to identify what the problem is. Because if you start with the solution and then figured out the problem, it's basically a wrong way to start. Because if there is no problem, there is no solution. You cannot say this like, I have this great technology and what problem or solution we can solve using this technology. It's a completely wrong way to start. Okay. So you always have to identify what the problem is and then think of a solution. And at times, if you look at the problems deeply, they don't change, but your solution keeps on changing. I'll give you a quick example of this. So let's say the problem statement is that you want to communicate with someone. It's a very simple problem statement, and we'll see how it works. So 100 years back, people used to have pigeon pass on their messages from point A to point B. Over the period, they might have realized there are some shortcomings, there are some problems there are certain problems. So they came up with a new innovation, first telephone, where it was much better than pigeon. And then over the period, there was much better innovation and the basically advanced phone. And there was another innovation called pager. Probably a lot of you might not even know what this technology is all about, but then this was used to communicate a few years back. And then we got the phones, mobile phones, and so on. So there were different messengers and everything. So if you look at the overall picture, the underlying problem always remains the same. The problem is very simple, that I want to communicate with someone. It's the simple problem. But if you look at the technology keeps on changing, there is an innovation, and that's how we make the progress. We try to find out what are the problem with the existing device that we are using, existing uh, problems, and then we figure out the next solution. So if you look at here, the problems always remain the same, the solution keeps on changing. So if it is so critical to understand what the problem is all about, how do we get to the root of the problem is the question that you might be having. So since this is not a session on the problem solving things, I'm going to give you a very simple technique that I normally use to figure out how the problem. You might already be aware of this. There is a simple technique called 5 why technique. So this technique was designed by a Japanese entrepreneur and founder of a Toyota industry. And basically it's for any problem that you come across, you just have to ask why 5 times. So in this case, we'll take an example. A second. Yeah. So the problem statement is that patient was getting late to the operating room is the problem that we will work on. So you just ask why, first why, and the answer might you get might there was a long wait for the trolley. You ask why was there a long wait for a trolley. You may get an answer that the replacement trolley was not available. You again ask why was the trolley was not available. So you may get an answer saying that the original trolley was not working or broke off. And why was that broke off? It was not regularly checked for wear and tear. You ask why again, and the answer might be the hospital doesn't have a maintenance schedule. So if you look at all this problem statement on the top, you might feel that there are not enough trolleys available. That's the reason patient was getting late to the operating room and all. But if you dig deeper to the problem, you might see that the problem is completely different. And the root cause of the problem is that they don't have a maintenance schedule. So if you fix the maintenance schedule, it's likely that the original problem will be solved, and you may not have to get more trolleys, or you may not have to invest in something different which doesn't solve the problem. So with this, we'll just work on or walk you through the product design phase and what it is and what all things involved. So one of the critical things that you need to understand is who are you building this product for? Who is the user for this? I'll quote Steve Jobs here. He says that design is not just what it looks like, but it is basically how it works. What it means is that you have to think completely end to end when you are designing certain product. So, so when you think of a problem you are trying to solve, you also need to think on who are you solving this problem for? Is it for the elderly people or the kids or the people who college going students, or is it people with medical issues and so on? There are n number of categories that you need to think of and specifically design for them. So, and you also need to think of, is it a normal product or it's a connected product or a smart product? Because there are different challenges with both the products. So in this example, there is a normal weighing scale and there is another smart scale. So with the normal weighing scale, there are different challenges, and with the smart scale, there are different challenges, because now it involves a lot of things. Normal weighing scale might give you only a weight, but smart weighing scale might give you more parameters. It is connected to the phone, it requires battery and so on. So there are different challenges that are involved in this. Again, when you are designing something into the healthcare, there are two aspects that you need to consider. One is the clinical part of, I mean, is this the product a clinical product or a non-clinical or a home use product? So there is a very good difference in these two. and the cost also differs based on this, and everything, all the design and everything is also based on this. Clinical product can be used for diagnosis and actual treatment, but the home use product can be used for information or maybe for education. So in this case, there are two equipments which can measure the ECG. One is on the left hand side, you have a product that can do a diagnosis and you can use the results of those to do the treatment. On the right hand side, you have a smart wearable. It can also give a ECG, but it may not be as accurate as the clinical version. And the product's cost varies a lot based on this, because the sensors that are used and the testing that has been done differs a lot compared to these two. So once you have figured it out, if you want to do a connected product or normal product, you also need to get into the prototype and the trials of the products. So there are a lot of things that you need to start planning. What kind of processor you want, the memory requirement, the power source, and what kind of different sensors you want to use. And you also need to figure it out if they are available locally or you want to import it from some other country. And because if you want to import it from some other country, you will also need to think if there are any licensing requirement. Normally for the prototype and the samples, they don't ask for the license, but it's better to check it once before you get into that. There are also other ways to get a prototype depending on what is that you are building. You can use a product like Raspberry Pi, Arduino or something, and there is a lot of open source code available which you can use, modify, and get the prototype done and your trials done. Connectivity is one of the key things that you need to work on when you are working on a smart product, because based on your problem statement, you need to decide the connectivity. There are also other challenges like the power requirement. For example, Wi-Fi is more power hungry compared to Bluetooth, but it all completely depend on what is the problem that you are trying to solve and what is the solution that you are building. So you need to work on this very carefully. Another aspect and very important aspect is the data processing and analysis. So we'll take a quick example of arithmetic. Here, if you want to detect what is this is like, in a simple word, it's like a bit, irregular your heartbeat. So how do we detect an irregular heartbeat? So here, let's say you decide to build a smart product which can which is a very small, we can wear it in hand, and we detect the irregular heartbeats here. But you need to decide on where and how we will process the data and do the analysis. So let's say that it also connects to the mobile phone. The mobile phone is connected to the cloud, and then you have a different stakeholder where you need to pass on this information. Okay, so you need to distribute and decide where you want to process or which data, because it's very crucial to process the data accuracy, because there are limitations on smart variable because of the memory and power requirement. Mobile phone has more processing power, and of course the cloud has much better processing power. So you need to divide things between these, and then you process your and do the analysis, data process and do the analysis. So normally decision making happens on the cloud, because then you have a lot of other data sets that you can compare with and do a better decision making. When designing, you also need to think of how the person is going to wear this product. Is he going to use the upper part of the hand, on the wrist, in the finger, and so on? Is it also you also need to figure it out if the product needs to be waterproof. So you basically need to understand an end-to-end life cycle of that product. So we'll take a quick example of a kid's tracking wearable. So assume that we decide to build something which will help us track the kids, and we give them some kind of a wearable which has a GPS and some connectivity. So a lot of things need to be considered when we are building this device. How are they going to wear it? Will they wear it at home, in society? Will they wear it at school? Will they wear it while playing the games at school? Where will they keep this? Will they keep in school bag or they wear it in hand? Who is going to charge the battery of that device? And one of the critical component, because this is a tracking device, how frequently we need to send the location data to the stakeholders. So because the important part here is the frequency will decide basically your power requirement, and if the more frequent you send the data, you need a higher power battery, and because it will consume a lot of power. So you need to think all the aspects of the user who is going to use these device. Other important consideration that you need to make is we talked about the battery life earlier, but device size is also important, because if you are going to wear it in hand, then it needs to be a perfectly fit size. You cannot have a bigger size or a very small size. App integration is also important, as we discussed how these two are connected. They need to be connected all the time, or they can connect at times or based on the requirement, and so on. You need to build that integration. You need to have build those interfaces to collect the data for the processing. You also need to work on the environment. If you build something here in India, you'll also see if that can work in maybe Canada, for example, where you have a -degree temperature. Will that be a problem if you build it here? Because most of the time you test it in a normal condition. You will also have to worry on the durability and maintenance part, how much life that product will have, and if at all there are problems to the customers, how are you going to maintain it? How are you going to collect the information from that? Okay. And finally, least but very important thing, as a technical person, this will be most irritating step to you, because most of the times you don't know what kind of license is required, because there are so many licenses, and at times one device may need multiple license, and figuring that out, applying for that license, getting for that license is very critical. um, if you build the product which can be sold across the globe, there are compliances as licenses requirement differ from country to country. So there is not a single license that will work in India or maybe US or Canada or Europe. So each country needs have their own requirement and need their own licensing things to be done. Okay. So as I said, this is the last part of our presentation, and after that probably can have some Q&A. Smart helmet story or discussion that I had recently with one of a friend of mine. He said that he wanted to build a smart helmet, and he came all the way from Bangalore to Pune to discuss this. And we started this discussion with he's saying that okay, he has an idea which he wants to build a smart helmet. And when I said, what do you mean by that? He said that a helmet that has a screen, maybe audio and so on. And I said, why will someone need that? I was trying to figure out what problem that person is trying to solve. He said that people may want to see a Google map or get a direction on the screen helmet screen. I said, okay, go on. he said that we can use a projector, a small projector, and flash a mini map on the screen, which will basically help people to find the direction, and it will also have audio to listen the music and all. So listening a music was a problem I didn't know for a two-wheeler, but there might be people who are doing it. So far, when I was trying to understand what problem he was trying to solve, most of the time he talked about the discussion and things around the solution. So I said, who do you think we will buy this? Because this seems to be an expensive thing. Who will you buy this? So he said that, okay, there are some delivery and courier boys, they might leave. The category wise is the perfect category because these are the people who have to travel most, maybe in unknown areas. But I was not very convinced on the problem statement that we are trying to solve. When I tried to dig deeper, there was not a very conclusive answers from that person. Of course, he might have to do more study, uh, or maybe dig deeper to understand what the problem is. The idea is probably not a good or bad, but what I was trying to tell that person is like, there are more important parts other than technology that are equally important and needs to considered before basically design any smart product, any product for that matter. So that's something you need to think on before getting into the development phase, actual development phase. I think that's all about today's presentation. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
So, do you think this type of helmet will really helpful, especially in India, especially in the India?
No, as I said, there are we need to really understand what problem we want to solve
Correct,
using the
correct.
helmet. Because we are not very clear on the problem, it's very difficult to comment on that. Any more questions?
Uh, Good afternoon, sir. How life of a product is decided in practical, I mean, while product development or design perspective?
It really depends on the kind of product that you are building on, and it'll definitely change based on the. So, for example, if you are designing a product to test blood sugar level, so it's like a one-time product, like you use it and throw it. But if it is a wearable, probably you might want that to have a life of at least a year or two, so that people don't have to change it frequently. If it is more expensive product, people don't keep on changing that product because it's expensive, so they cannot use it or they cannot buy continuously, right? So it really depends on the what kind of product you are building. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. And how reliability of this product is tested while practical development?
Yeah, again, it really depends on the product itself. But let's say if you are doing uh, maybe a weighing scale, for example. So there are certain tests given by government. There are certain compliances. There are certain bodies have prescribed certain format. You can do those tests, get things certified from that, because they put this product with extensive testing uh, from the all different point of view, like hardware itself, the software, the results, and everything. And based on that, they basically tell you if this is the reliable product or not.
Thank you, sir. Can you comment more on the government's like what are the norms and what are the tests that we need to actually conduct?
Okay, this is a very good question, but very difficult to answer because every product, as I said, has a different licensing that needs to be done. And at times there might be a single product which need multiple licenses because of the sensors or data that we are capturing from that device. So uh, so in India, if for example if you have certain wireless things, there is a WPA, a government organization where you need to apply. If the product is home based or home use, there is a less licensing required. If it is like business to business use or some external use, you might have to go through a different licensing format. So it's really not a straightforward answer to this, but based on the product, based on the things that you are going to use in the product, the licensing changes. And as I said, if the product is going to ship outside India, then again the licensing changes as per the country. They have their own norms.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other query from participants? Either you can push your query in chat box or just unmute and ask your query, please. Sir, there is a question in chat window.
Mm-hmm.
Do wearables come under medical device category in India?
There are certain devices that recently there was change in the requirement or the compliances, probably a year back, where certain devices are coming under the medical devices, like a BP monitor, if I'm not wrong. Earlier, they were not part of the medical devices, the normal digital BP monitor. Now they are trying to get into the medical devices category. But the normal variables like this fitness bands and all, they are not part of a medical device, or they are not considered as a medical device.
Another question is, sir, how successful are microstrip antennas in terms of wearable device?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
Actually, there are type of antennas which are used for communication.
Mm-hmm.
So the type is a microstrip type.
Mm-hmm.
So how successful are these antennas in terms of when while using these antennas for wearable devices?
In my experience, I haven't used this yet, so I'm not probably the right person to comment on this. But there are other communication channels that we have used for the wearable device. I'm not very sure on this.
Sir, can I answer this?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, basically, for wearable antenna, generally we cannot use the microstrip. Generally, we can use the textures miniaturization antenna. Okay, and basically it is a totally somewhat different and somewhat very miniatured and textured antenna is there, which can be used. I think in the antenna earlier it has been shown to you in the earlier presentation. If you can go through the earlier presentation, might be you will get the answer.
One more query is there. Do we have any dedicated standard for wearable in India? Standards or protocols?
Yeah, so there are global standards like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and these kinds of standards. There are LoRa. So depending on the use case, we need to decide what needs to be used for that. But these are all global standards and can be used across the world. So there is nothing specific to India as such.
I think no query, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much for such a nice session. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having me. And if at all anyone have any question, they can also write to me on the email address that I have provided. I would be happy to answer. They can also follow on the Twitter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
So now I conclude this section. It's over.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.